In the summer of 1947, one man who had never visited India was handed an impossible task. He was given just 5 weeks to draw a line across a map. That line would divide nations, separate families, trigger one of the largest migrations in human history, and change the lives of millions forever. This is the story of the Radcliffe Line, which divided India and Pakistan in 1947. A line drawn on paper sent millions onto the roads. Some carried suitcases, others carried children, and many carried only memories of the homes they would never see again. Rail lines stitched cities together, carrying people and hopes. Stations throbbed with steam and uncertainty. Across offices and archives, decisions narrowed into maps. On calm streets, life waited for the verdict. Neighbors shared routines. Unaware borders would soon divide them. This was a land of languages, faiths, and trade routes woven together over generations. But winds of change had begun to gather. For nearly 2 centuries, British rule shaped the political and economic life of the subcontinent. By the 20th century, demands for self-rule grew louder. The independence movement mobilized millions. World War II left Britain weakened, financially stretched and politically pressured. The cabinet mission sought a federal solution to keep India united, but political tensions between communities complicated every proposal. Compromises failed, positions hardened. The push for self-rule was now inseparable from questions of representation and security. With time running out, Britain announced a rapid transfer of power. The decision that followed would redraw the map. Two provinces, Punjab in the west and Bengal in the east, stood at the center of the coming division. A line on paper would decide futures no election or plebiscite could. Jawaharlal Nehru prepared to lead an independent India. Muhammad Ali Jinnah championed a new homeland for Muslims, Pakistan. Lord Mountbatten oversaw the transfer of power. Cyril Radcliffe arrived in India, brilliant, impartial, but new to the land he would divide. 4 men sat at the center of history, but it was one man with a pen and a map who would leave the deepest scar. 2 commissions were formed, one for Punjab and one for Bengal. Their mandate: draw fair boundaries amid conflicting realities. Religious demographics weighed heavily, but so did roads, rivers, and markets. In Punjab, Muslim majorities dominated the west. Hindu and Sikh communities were concentrated in the east, intermixed in many districts. In Bengal, the great port of Calcutta sat within a Hindu majority zone, while the east leaned Muslim. Railways and canals fed commerce and agriculture, the lifeblood of both provinces. Irrigation headworks and barrages could not simply be severed. Strategic garrisons and lines of communication added yet another layer. The Lahore dilemma, a cultural and administrative capital amid shifting numbers. The Gurdaspur controversy. A few tehsils could determine access to Kashmir. The Calcutta decision: preserve economic arteries while respecting demographic claims. In Bengal, winding rivers and enclaves made straight lines impossible. Every stroke of the pen determined where millions would wake up the next morning, in India or in Pakistan. Radcliffe studied surveys, memoranda and testimony. 5 weeks to decide a century of questions. Arguments for towns, for canals, for roads. Each decision rippled outward. Five weeks turned into a lifetime on paper. Independence arrived.
At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
In Karachi, a new nation took its first steps.
You are free. You are free to go to your temples. You are free to go to your mosques.
While 2 nations celebrated freedom, millions still did not know on which side of the border their homes would fall. The line was drawn, but not yet revealed. On 17th August 1947, the Radcliffe Line was made public. Villages, towns and farms learned their fate overnight. Shock spread as families discovered they were now in another country. Within months of the Radcliffe Line being announced, an estimated 14 to 18 million people crossed the newly created borders. Historians estimate that around 1 million people lost their lives in the violence and upheaval that followed, making partition one of the largest and most tragic migrations in human history. History had never witnessed movement on this scale. Entire cities began walking. Estimates suggest more than 10 million people were uprooted. Homes were left behind, memories packed into trunks and cloth bundles. Emergency camps rose across both nations as authorities and volunteers mobilized relief. Corridors of movement formed, west across Punjab, east across Bengal. Courage showed in small acts of care. Governments, charities, and neighbors tried to meet impossible needs. The violence that accompanied the partition claimed an estimated 1 to 2 million lives. Nearly 15 million people were displaced, making it one of the largest forced migrations in human history. Railways became lifelines, bridges between past and uncertain future. Evacuation schedules changed by the hour. Families clung to documents, to each other, to hope. Strangers lifted strangers. Keys, deeds, and family photos became symbols of return and remembrance. Letters crossed the line even when people could not. In tents and transit, life continued, fragile, determined. Punjab was divided. Agriculture, canals, and markets cut between two states. Bengal too was split. Industry and river trade reshaped overnight. Supply chains fractured before slowly reweaving along new routes. Borders created costs and choices no one had faced before. The line endures. Today one of the most watched frontiers in the world. Ritual and rivalry, but also an audience shared across a border. Culture remembers kinship even when politics remembers fault lines. Many families remain divided yet connected. Cyril Radcliffe burned many of his papers before leaving India, but the line he drew could not be erased. It remains one of the most consequential borders ever created, a line that reshaped nations and altered the destiny of millions. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe.